I want what
I
I
want to
want
do
to do
more
now is I want
research
to get
on that one.
everyone's last just thoughts on the season.
Yeah.
You know, where do the Bengals go from here? Right. I mean, there'd be 9 months to talk it all through. But I do want to get to this really briefly. We can keep it kind of brief. Like, just your overall thoughts on the coaching changes the Bengals have made. What is your confidence level in Zack Taylor and company to get this right? I never feel good about a coach who guts his staff, um, and then kind of enters the next season with a lot of pressure on him. But not every coach has Joe Burrow. Not every coach has Jamar Chase. Not every coach has the opportunity that you have. um, to have a standout offense. They need to get this hire correct from the defensive coordinator position. They need to get these positional coaches hired because I definitely believe there will still be some turnover on the coaching staff from the secondaries coach because any defensive coordinator is probably going to want to bring in their own guys. It's going to be a little bit of philosophy change. It's going to be some personnel changes. How different will this defensive line look? That's going to be the biggest question. But Zim, I want to get your overall thoughts trying to wrap up the season and just where the Bengals move forward.
I feel like they did this all just to give us something to talk about.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
The Bengals just really love us, bro. Like, but I can't stress enough though. Like, change is good sometimes. Like I think Lou is going to bounce back, and we're going to see him. And we're going to see him too.
Diana Rossini already said there are teams that are lining up to add him to his staff.
Yeah.
I know what I was told earlier in the year. First of all, let me just say this: as much as I stood on here and I stood the table and I wanted the Bengals keep Lou, I was made aware that this change was happening 2 weeks ago. I got a phone call when I was in Kenwood Mall that this change was happening, and
I found out after the Steelers game. Did I? I think I told you too.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
It didn't sit well with me. The way it was kind of like said, it was like, there maybe is a chance for things to turn around, but it more than likely that change was definitely coming down the pipeline. And I walk away from this season thinking that, you just can't have people like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase have the season that they've had and not think and miss the playoffs. I will say a few weeks ago, and it's funny that you brought this up, Sean, and Iron Man XRP. I was told that Baltimore was going to be looking at the Anarumo situation if he were going to be moved off of Cincinnati. Does that actually mean that they're going to, go out there and hire him? Who knows? But talking to a couple people I know around the league, they thought it would be a mistake if the Bengals moved off of Anarumo. Lou will have a job. Will it be Buffalo? Or would it be a team like Baltimore? Would it be somewhere else? I definitely think that we're going to see that guy somewhere in the NFL as a defensive coordinator this upcoming year. And I have a funny feeling we're going to wind up playing him, and we'll see what happens from there. But
let me tell you a quick story. Funny. Mm-hmm. I was eating breakfast. We're snowed in. I'm telling my son, hey, look, I waited till I cooked breakfast, and at the end, he's 8 years old. I said, hey, guess what? The Bengals fired their defensive coordinator, fired the defensive line coach, fired the offensive line coach, and the linebacker coach because he doesn't really know the names and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think he might know Lou. I don't know. I said they fired all of them, and he's like, "Oh, okay." He like took his headphones off. He's like, "What about Zach?" And I'm like, "Whoa!" Like you know what I mean? Like you kind of get it. And I said, "Why you ask about Zach?" He's like, "You think he gonna motivate them to win a Super Bowl?" I'm like, "Where did you hear that at? Like, you been watching my show or something?" He's like, "Nah, like I just look at him. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, would he motivate you? And you're like, he plays basketball, so what do you mean?" He's like, "Nah, he wouldn't." And I thought that was crazy. And then he said, "Well, okay." And then he said, "Well, what do you think is going to be? You don't think that this is the time?" And it stuck in my head. He said, "This is the most important time." Because now they got to figure out who could do all the things that Lou Anarumo did and then some more. And I was like, damn, and I just sat there kind of paused, like, whatever. And so people that are like, yeah, fire this, fire, I understand that. But at the same time, you got to make a really calculated decision because one of the points that Malik was saying is like, is Zach going to bring in a guy that's going to jeopardize him, as a coach and head coach or whatever? I don't know, but I would like it. I would like a guy that's on that level.
So something interesting that was brought up just now. And was that Uzi that said that?
Yeah.
He knows ball.
Yeah, it was right there. It was just like, yeah, I mean, he was shocked, but then he was like, well, they got to figure out somebody that could do what Lou did and then some more. I was like,
I think so. I want to speak to a bigger issue really quickly. Zach has to get better at, outside of Brian Callahan, who I think, obviously got a head coaching job because, the job they did with Jake Browning, but also as people know who his father is and stuff like that. Zach has to do a better job of hiring better assistants. This is now the second time he's had to change out some assistant coaches, right? And when I look at it, you look at a Dan Pitcher. Dan Pitcher was not a Zack Taylor hire. Dan Pitcher was with the Bengals coaching staff since Marvin Lewis. Dan Pitcher was the next guy to take over as the offensive coordinator once Brian Callahan left. And the same with Robert Livingston. Robert Livingston, I believe, was with Marvin Lewis's coaching staff. So if you were to bring Robert Livingston, who was with Cincinnati for 8 years, I believe, if you were to bring him back here, that means 2 of your coordinators would be disciples from Marvin Lewis's staff. You ever thought about it that way? So that, to me, that's kind of interesting a little bit.
The bottom line is this upcoming season, this season has the potential to set the Bengals back or win a Super Bowl. I really don't know if there's an in-between, to be honest with you guys. I think that, and this is the harsh reality, right? I look at this offseason, you've got to add talent, right? Defensive line's a massive concern. We got to figure out, okay, like I said, look at the draft. At the end of the day, you're going to come back to week 1, and it's going to be Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase step back onto the field. You're going to play 18 games. I guarantee at least 8 to 10 of those are one-score games. It's not just going to come down to talent. It's not just going to come down to who you got, calling defensive plays, who you got, as your offensive line coach. It's going to come down to your quarterback and your head coach in close games. And that's really what I think football comes down to. Like I said, I think you got to get better into your defensive line. I think you need a better edge rusher. I think you need better play from the secondary. But like I said, I'm very confident you're going to have one-score games. And you look at these teams that have done it before. Mike Vrabel with the Tennessee Titans. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, throughout the regular season. You look at these teams, the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at all the great teams in the NFL. There are great teams that can pull out one-score games and can win in crunch time and can out-coach other teams in their division. And I think it's going to fall back on Zack Taylor.